I'm sad to say, but Dungeons and Dragons can be one of the hardest games to actually get through and play. And it's not because of any specific mechanic, but rather because of scheduling. And I want to get into that here. So, with that being said, I kind of want to go into a couple of things pretty briefly on how to make your sessions easier to schedule for you as a DM. Because me personally, I have an issue getting everyone there together for one session. And it's something that over the years I've experimented a lot with and kind of found a way that I like to do it, but I'm still refining my method even to this day. So if you have any ideas that you want to mention to the community or have me read and respond to, make sure you put them in the comments below because I'm always interested in seeing how other people actually do this. Now, there's this kind of weird thing that goes on with scheduling. I mean, personally, for example, I love reading D&D books, but I've got about 5 on my shelf right now, and I haven't touched any of them. And that comes down to like this emotional barrier to kind of actually set aside the time to do something that you're excited about because you can just do it later. It's always going to be there. It's something that you don't have to worry about. And so that's going to be kind of our first topic coming in here is kind of how to break through that emotional gap to kind of, I hate to say it, but kind of use the word motivate your players to get there. It's not really about motivation. It's more about making it easier, making it more exciting so that they really want to set aside that time because it can be kind of challenging to actually get there. The first thing that I would kind of do is look at the media of your campaign. So whether you're doing it online or in person, or whether you're doing it on Roll20 or Discord, or whether you're doing it at a coffee shop or in your home, and kind of ask yourself, does this really fit what this group would be interested in? Because some of my players don't like online campaigns. Other people really do. And I live the furthest away from my friends. So should I be having it at a coffee shop? Should I be asking one of my friends if we can host it at their house? That's kind of these questions that you need to start stirring around in your head just to kind of get some convenience in there for your players in a media that they like. And that's kind of the first step to breaking through this whole kind of problem. And if you're doing an in-person campaign, make sure that you're actually kind of talking to your players about finding a central location where everybody would be excited to spend a couple hours, where everybody can kind of jump in and be there and be in person without everybody having to drive too far, because driving 2-3 hours or even an hour to be at a D&D campaign can be a lot. And whether you're in the city or in the country, it doesn't really matter how many miles it is. When you're stuck in the car for 2 hours for a D&D campaign, an hour each way, that's not the most fun thing on the planet. That being said, yes, you can have players that are really far away from the location. Just make sure that you're making your sessions longer. I've found that personally, a lot of my friends, they kind of live an hour away from any central location, or somebody's going to have to travel really far and other people are going to be right there. The way that I make this a lot easier for those players that are far away to justify coming is I make my sessions a lot longer. Now, I'm not saying to pick anything crazy like an 8-hour session, but make it 2 or 3 hours, like the length of a movie. That's going to be a lot easier for them to justify to themselves driving all this way just for one campaign. And if you're on an online campaign, it can be a lot easier. Making them shorter sessions may actually be easier to engage your players because it takes no time for them to hop onto Discord being like, let's do a 30-minute session every Friday. You can have them more frequently, whereas if everybody's driving for an in-person campaign, making them a little more spread out bi-weekly and making the sessions longer is going to make it a lot easier for your players to actually truly get engaged and actually be able to be there. And it makes it a lot easier on them to make that decision on whether or not they can actually be a part of the campaign. With that idea of having your online campaign and kind of struggling to actually get everybody there and doing shorter sessions, one thing you can actually do to make sure everybody's there and engaged is to do like a watch party or play a game together. I know a lot of people like Jackbox. I did Netflix watch together with my party at one point, and actually something I really kind of do now and I enjoy is a lot of my players are league players, so we'll get together and we'll play an ARAM, which is a short 15-minute game, and we'll play 2 or 3 of those beforehand. That way people have time to kind of trickle in, start to have some fun together, and kind of loosen up before we start role-playing. And I've noticed that makes the roleplay a lot easier too. And it's something I kind of want to try in my in-person campaigns too. But right now I'm looking at running mine at a game store. So watching things together or playing a game beforehand, it might have to be a card game or something, but it's something that I want to toy around with within my in-person campaigns. but I think that it has a lot of great use, especially in an online format. Another way that you can kind of get everybody together and start to get everybody kind of talking and make it easier for players to make those decisions is a lot of my friends view each other as being part of the family, like being almost like a found family amongst our small group on top of our normal families. So what we'll do is sometimes we'll actually do a dinner night, and this isn't all on you as the DM to like cook everything and make a dinner for all of your friends, but just have kind of like a potluck like you would see at like a school or something, and have everybody like bring a drink or bring a bag of chips or bring something that they enjoy cooking and kind of have dinner together beforehand or during the session. It can be kind of a fun way where you get to be closer with your friends and you get to actually have everybody together. And then you get to go into the campaign, which honestly makes it a lot easier for people. It makes it a lot more fun. It makes it more engaging. And then you have almost this like family dinner idea where everybody's getting together early and everybody knows that it's coming, and it's things that people are going to look forward to on a weekly basis. Now, one thing I do want to do in the future is I actually want to go through and make an entire video on how to set lighting using different musics and different things to actually kind of set a mood and turn your D&D game into a real spectacle, to make it into an event. And that's going to be a topic that I'm going to touch on a little bit more in another video. If you're interested in that, make sure that you're following the videos on this channel. Check them kind of out. I do think that there are a lot of ways where you can enhance your D&D games. There's about an endless amount of things you can do because of the fact that it's about your group and kind of tailoring it to what they're going to enjoy. With that, make sure that you're kind of catering your game to your players. That's also going to help make sure people get there, is making sure that the campaign is something that they're going to be interested in as an individual, and adding little tidbits. Doesn't have to be the whole campaign that they're going to love. For me, one of my friends is a history major, so if I put in a sphinx or some kind of intricate historical puzzle or something, they're going to be stoked. And with that, I have two friends that are history majors in my group, so if I were to drop that to either of them, they're going to love it. So you kind of have all of these different options when you're catering your campaign, and you can just cater one session or a piece in a session to them, and it's going to make it easier for them to decide to be in the campaign. And make sure you're talking to them in advance. If a player is starting to fall off and they're not really showing up anymore, they're consistently having problems with scheduling, maybe sit down and have a conversation with that person. Talk to them about, hey, is this campaign still something you're interested in? Or are you kind of looking to step away because it's become a little too much for you, or you're not interested in the story anymore? It's okay to have a player step away, say they're done, and then bring somebody else in. That's okay as long as you have the conversation with the player before any decisions are made. The second form of conflict resolution for this whole kind of experience is actually understanding scheduling. One thing I really like to do for all of my players is when I'm actually running a campaign, I try to actually put out a Google or an Apple Calendar, one of these shared calendars, really whichever app you prefer. I like to use Apple Calendar, and I'll put the session dates on that calendar so that it shows up on people's phones. Most of my friends have iPhones, so it makes it a lot easier for me to make sure that everybody's kind of seeing it and understands what's kind of happening with the campaign. If I have to reschedule, then I can just put a note down being like, rescheduled session. I had to reschedule the session because I got called into work or something. Like, it makes it a lot easier, along with having just kind of a private message group for your party. That's kind of one of those things that most people already do anyways. And on top of that, there's something I want to try. My esports team used this website called When to Meet, and it's really, really cool because everybody can go in there and click times where they're free. We used to use it for scheduling practices, and I really liked this app. It's completely free, and I've been considering kind of using it for my D&D campaigns and planning like 2 weeks out and having everybody put in days where they would be free and seeing where the most overlap is and scheduling it on those days. That way I can have everybody and people still feel like they have more input on the scheduling rather than just me doing it by myself. Now, if you did enjoy this video, make sure that you check out some of the other ones on this channel. We make informational D&D content that comes out weekly, and we really are here to kind of help the community, especially young DMs and new DMs who haven't really had to deal with a lot of the problems of a dungeon master before, but also for more of our veteran players, we're actually talking about different ways that we have personally used different monsters and different ideas in Dungeons and Dragons to kind of give people inspiration. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next video.